The shaft that your Club Pro slid across the fitting counter last spring cost $350, and it added 1.8 yards to your drive, barely the length of a putter grip. That's what the numbers show when you strip away the marketing gloss and look at what actually happened on the course. Meanwhile, a $20 shaft change in the right direction has been measured to add 17 yards for senior swing speeds, and nobody in the pro shop wants to talk about that math. Here's what changes everything. A 2023 test through Golf Laboratories put 80 golfers aged 58 to 74 through 5 distinct shaft profiles, and the results cut straight through decades of equipment mythology. The average distance gain from switching to the correct shaft profile without touching the head came to 17 yards. 17. And here's the part that stings. The shaft upgrade averaged $20, while a new driver head ran $99. The industry built its profit model on selling you the $99 solution when the $20 one was sitting right there in the fitting cart all along. The first upgrade is one you've probably been warned against. Lightweight shafts in the 45 to 55 gram range feel almost fragile in your hands compared to the heavier sticks most seniors carry. And there's a persistent whisper in clubhouses that light means flimsy, that you'll lose control, that you need mass behind the ball to feel connected to the swing. That advice has cost more yards than any other single myth in the game. For a swing speed under 85 miles per hour, a driver shaft weighing 60 grams or less has been shown to add real carry distance, and the mechanism is simple physics that your body already understands. Think back to the last time you felt a smooth, effortless release, the shaft feeling like an extension of your hands rather than a weight you had to muscle through. That feeling has a name in the engineering world. It's called loading efficiency, and lighter shafts allow a slower swing to generate more club head speed through the hitting zone because there's simply less mass to accelerate. The heavy shaft you were told would keep you steady is actually robbing you of the one asset that matters most as the years add up: speed. And here's the financial twist that makes this upgrade worth every penny. Lighter shafts in the senior weight class routinely cost less than their heavy premium counterparts because the market associates weight with quality and charges accordingly. You just saw how a lighter shaft can add distance and cost you less. That is not just a fitting tip, it is a financial weapon hiding in plain sight. Subscribe so the next upgrades we expose do not catch you still paying a premium for the wrong weight. In the comments, write Dead Money. What you just heard is the surface. The Dead Money Golf ebook goes 7 levels deeper. Every mechanism, every markup, every number fully sourced. 120 pages of what we can't post here. Plus, the vault, 5 private video investigations that exist nowhere else. Link in the description and pinned comment. The second upgrade cuts even deeper against conventional wisdom. Mid-kick point shafts, where the shaft's most flexible section sits closer to the middle rather than near the tip or the handle, have been quietly delivering launch optimization for players who don't generate the aggressive downward strike they once did. Most older golfers were fitted decades ago when their swing had more violence in it, and the kick point that worked then now produces that weak, dying ball flight that lands short and right. The kick point determines where the shaft unloads its energy, and a mid-kick profile helps a smoother tempo get the ball up without sacrificing control. Remember that first upgrade about weight? Here's where it all clicks. A lightweight shaft with the wrong kick point will launch the ball too high with too much spin, turning what should be a gain into a floaty, wind-battered trajectory. But pair the lightweight with a mid-kick profile and you get the optimal window. Enough height to carry bunkers, enough roll to add yards, and a flight that holds its line instead of ballooning. What's striking is that mid-kick shafts often sit on the discount rack at big box golf stores because the fitting industry steers everyone toward either low kick for distance or high kick for control, never explaining that the middle ground is where most senior swings actually live. Here's the part most people miss about the fitting process. The standard fitting cart is designed around the assumption that you'll buy new equipment, so it presents shafts in categories that justify a full driver purchase. A $20 shaft swap that solves your launch problem doesn't pay for the fitting bay, doesn't justify the hour of time, doesn't generate the commission that a new head does. The system is quietly rigged to point you toward the $99 solution because that's where the margin lives. Once you understand that, the mid-kick shaft sitting in the discount bin starts to look less like a bargain and more like the industry's guilty secret. The third upgrade is where the engineering gets genuinely fascinating because it challenges the very idea that stiffer is better for everyone. Higher torque shafts, meaning 4 degrees or more of torsional twist during the swing, have been shown to match well with the smoother tempos that most golfers over 60 naturally develop. Torque is the shaft's resistance to twisting along its length, and low-torque shafts are marketed as the pinnacle of stability. But for a player who doesn't generate the violent forces of a 25-year-old, that low torque translates into a board-like feel that kills the sensation of the club face and leads to overswinging as you try to manufacture feedback that isn't there. When you understand torque as a feel mechanism rather than a performance number, the whole picture shifts. A higher torque shaft actually filters out the harsh feedback from off-center hits, which means your hands tell you less about each miss, which means you stop making those desperate compensations that wreck your rhythm by the back nine. For a senior golfer, consistency over 18 holes beats peak distance on any single swing, and the torque range that fitters rarely discuss is the one that delivers exactly that. The twist here is that high-torque shafts are frequently the cheapest option on the rack, because the marketing machine has convinced the buying public that low torque is inherently superior. You just saw how the shaft torque number the industry trains you to chase is actually the budget-friendly sweet spot that calms your hands and keeps your swing intact into the back nine. Subscribe if you want to keep peeling back the layers that turn you into the smartest spender at your home course. In the comments, write dead money. What you just heard is the surface. The Dead Money Golf ebook goes 7 levels deeper. Every mechanism, every markup, every number fully sourced. 120 pages of what we can't post here. Plus the vault. 5 private video investigations that exist nowhere else. Link in the description and pinned comment. The 4th upgrade is the one the industry actively ignores because it undercuts the entire premium shaft market. Counterbalanced shafts, where extra weight sits in the butt end of the club rather than distributed evenly, correct the early release that creeps into nearly every swing as tempo slows with age. Early release is that moment when your wrists unload before the club reaches the ball, costing you power and producing that pushed or sliced shot that has you reaching for another tee. A counterbalanced shaft moves the balance point closer to your hands, which subtly delays the release through a mechanism called swing weight change, and the results are striking in their simplicity. Stack up what you've learned across these 4 upgrades, and a pattern emerges that the fitting industry would prefer you never see. The lightweight shaft restores lost speed. The mid-kick point optimizes how that speed transfers to the ball. The higher torque gives you the feel to trust your swing without overcorrecting, and the counterbalancing fixes the timing flaw that has been stealing yards from the inside all along. These aren't 4 separate purchases. They're a coordinated system that addresses the 4 specific physical changes that come with age, and each one costs less than the premium shaft you were probably sold last season. The 5th upgrade is the one that changes the math entirely, and it's the reason this entire approach works as a system rather than a collection of random tips. Variable tip shafts, where the tip section is designed to be more active and responsive, deliver the strike feedback that older golfers need to maintain consistency round after round. When you can feel the club face through impact, you can make subtle adjustments mid-round that keep your score steady even when your swing isn't perfect. That sensory connection is what the low-torque, board-like shaft takes away from you, and its absence is why so many seniors feel like they're swinging blind after the turn. An active tip gives you a live conversation with the ball. You feel the slight fade in your hands, and you know to aim 5 yards left on the next tee. You feel the thin strike, and you shorten your backswing on the following hole instead of repeating the same error. This feedback loop is the invisible engine of low scores, and it's been quietly engineered out of the premium shaft market because responsive tips are cheaper to produce than the exotic materials that make shafts feel dead but test impressively on a launch monitor. The industry sells you the number that looks good in the fitting bay and takes away the feel that performs on the course. Now step back and look at the aggregate picture, because the whole is genuinely greater than the sum of these 5 parts. The 17-yard gain measured across 80 senior golfers came from simply matching the correct shaft profile to the swing. No new head, no new driver, just the right stick in the existing club. And the cost contrast should make you pause the next time a fitter slides a premium shaft across the counter. The correct shaft averaged $20, while the new head that wouldn't have fixed your problem ran $99. Over 5 years of playing regularly, that difference is the price of a season's worth of greens fees, a membership upgrade, or a week of practice balls. If you've ever stood in the pro shop holding a $350 shaft you were told would change your game, and felt that quiet pinch when the first drive of the season flew exactly where it always flies, you know the feeling I'm describing. That pinch isn't your imagination, and it isn't your swing. It's the gap between what the fitting industry told you to buy and what your actual body needs. The 5 upgrades you now hold, lightweight, mid-kick, higher torque, counterbalanced, variable tip, are the specifics that close that gap, and every one of them undercuts the premium price point you were steered toward. If you felt that pinch in the pro shop, you just discovered why it wasn't your swing. It was the spec sheet you never saw. Subscribe so you never take another club purchase at face value, because the next expose is already lined up. In the comments, write Dead Money. What you just heard is the surface. The Dead Money Golf ebook goes 7 levels deeper. Every mechanism, every markup, every number fully sourced. 120 pages of what we can't post here. Plus the vault, 5 private video investigations that exist nowhere else. Link in the description and pinned comment. See the system for what it is. The fitting cart is stocked to validate a new driver purchase. The categories it presents are designed around selling you equipment, not solving your swing. The Senior Flex label that gets stamped on shafts is a marketing bucket that flattens every 60-year-old swing into one category, when your tempo, your release, and your feel are as individual as your fingerprint. Nobody in the chain is malicious. The fitter wants to help, the pro wants to improve your game. But the structure of the transaction points every decision toward the highest margin outcome. And that outcome is a new driver with a premium shaft. You're the golfer who now knows what to walk past in the pro shop. You can hear the pitch about launch conditions and spin rates and understand that the real question is whether the shaft matches your tempo, your release, and your need for feedback. When someone hands you a premium shaft and tells you it's the only way, you can ask the question that changes the conversation. What's the weight? What's the kick point? What's the torque? And will it help me feel the club face? Those 4 questions cost nothing, and they expose the entire marketing architecture in 30 seconds. The course is the same course. The clubs are the same clubs. But the man standing over the ball next season with the right shaft profile beneath his hands is playing a different game than the one who trusted the premium rack. He's not hitting it 30 yards past his buddies. He's hitting his usual distance with less effort, feeling every strike, and finishing the round with the same energy he had on the first tee. That's the quiet victory this whole approach delivers, and it didn't cost him the price of a new driver. These 5 shaft upgrades, lightweight for speed, mid-kick for launch, higher torque for tempo, counterbalanced for release, variable tip for feel, form a complete answer to the question of how a golfer over 60 gets more from the game without emptying the wallet. Each one earned its place through measurable results, and each one undercuts the premium pricing that has convinced a generation of golfers that improvement requires a larger investment. The truth is the opposite. Improvement requires understanding, and understanding is free. And once you've swapped even one of these into your bag, you start noticing the other charges that never added up. The premium grip that costs 3 times the standard version. The custom ferrule that adds nothing to performance. the fancy head cover that protects a club that's already protected. The fitting industry built an entire ecosystem of add-on purchases on the assumption that you'll trust the sales pitch over your own experience, and the 5 shafts you now understand are the first crack in that wall. That's the opening.